Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Ed0626 here, bringing you some Destiny 2 gameplay. This was when I first started out playing Destiny 2. Excuse me, sorry about that. But this is when I first started playing Destiny 2, so some of the movement is like, god damn, what is this fucking moron doing? Some of you may wonder, like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Well, this was like my second or third strike that I ever played on like my first day of playing Destiny 2. So I was still getting used to everything, the movement, the controls, you know, the weaponry, all that shit. See, I'm bumping into my buddy Scott, whose link will be in the description below. But anyway, so I want to talk about something that will probably affect a decent amount of you here on YouTube. And that is Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Now, let me preface this video by saying I am a very big Dragon Ball fan. Some of you may say, oh, nerd, anime, you like anime, you're a fucking nerd, blah, 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 you're probably a virgin. I can pretty much debunk pretty much all of that shit in my own personal life, but that's besides the point. The point I'm trying to make is Dragon Ball Z Abridged was probably one of the greatest YouTube web series ever created in the history of YouTube, and I will put that against anything. Honestly, like, I will put that up against any fucking thing on this website in terms of miniseries. Some miniseries may stand up to it. Some would argue Red vs. Blue, Battlefield Friends, all of that shit. But for me, it was not Destiny 2. It was a Dragon Ball Z Abridged, because it pretty much took all of the Dragon Ball Z storyline, cut it up into like a somewhat, I don't know how to explain it. It was basically Z-Kai, which was Z-Kai was like a remastered, cut up version of Dragon Ball without a lot of the filler. It was essentially that, but a hell of a lot more funnier, and with fantastic voice acting and fantastic humor that I don't think we'll ever see on YouTube ever again. Recently, within the last year or so, TeamFourStar, the channel that creates Dragon Ball Z Abridged, as well as many other anime abridged series, there was some news going around that Dragon Ball Z Abridged is officially over with. Now, let me quickly preface that as to why. For those of you who don't know, Dragon Ball Z Abridged was released very, very painfully slow towards the end of the Cell Saga, which is the third major saga of, the Dragon Ball story. In my opinion, it was like the third or fourth major saga. So the Cell Saga was being released painfully slow. There would be sometimes we would have to wait, goddamn, close to a year, if that, in terms of, releasing episodes. So we're sitting here on the edge of our seats saying, when's the next Dragon Ball Z Abridged episode? When's the next Dragon Ball Z Abridged episode? Well, due to some, I guess, copyright issues that TeamFourStar was running into with the company that owns Dragon Ball, like, Funimation, Toei Animation, Akira Toriyama, the creator of the Dragon Ball manga, which is the book story of said series. It was, for what I understand, they were running into a lot of issues with it, which was allowing the series to be released much slower than what we were accustomed to seeing. And this is, I think, I don't know if I want to say halfway or core of the way into the Cell Saga, that this was becoming more and more prevalent as the videos were being released painfully slow. And recently, TeamFourStar released the final episode of the Cell Saga, which is the finale of that, which probably to many people should have been the ending of Dragon Ball in general. That's a different story for a different time for those of you who are into that conversation. The point I'm trying to make is episode 60, the last episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, is being reported to be the final episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, period. Now, after episode 60 was released, TeamFourStar released a message within the third, I think it was the second or third part. I don't know what the final part of that episode was, but I think it was part 3. It was a 3-parter. They released something saying, we'll be back, blah, 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 which a lot of people were being led to believe that the Buu Saga, which is the fourth and final saga in the Dragon Ball Z anime, was coming to Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Now, I, for one, was incredibly excited for this, because the Boo Saga, to me, is probably one of my favorite sagas, despite the issues that many people believe that it has. And I enjoy the saga because it gives a lot of proper character development to Vegeta, who is one of my favorite characters in all of Dragon Ball. It also offers a lot of cool power-ups like Super Saiyan 3. It brings the fusion discussion, it brings the fusion technique into the series, which we all know. We all love characters like Gogeta and Vegito, and even Gotenks, Trunks and Goten fuse. So we're all excited to see how Dragon Ball Z Abridged, handles this sort of thing. And unfortunately, it seems like that's not going to be the case, because comicbook.com, who I guess I don't want to say it's a reputable source, because I don't really know too much about them and how they handle anime news and gaming news in general. Excuse me. They're saying that there was a bunch of tweets, I think, by one of the guys who runs the TeamFourStar YouTube page. And it seems as though there's a quote in this article, which I'll try and link down in the description below if I get the opportunity. It says the following: "We're going to do a full in-depth video on this topic soon, which is, stopping Dragon Ball Z Abridged altogether. Episode 60 is the ending of Abridged proper. The short Z, which I believe is like a mini series or something like that regarding Dragon Ball Z Abridged, are the future of Dragon Ball content. And if we do the Boo Saga, it'll be in the style of short Z." But now here's where I'm kind of bothered. I'm both understanding and bothered by this. One, again, TeamFourStar was allegedly running into a lot of issues regarding copyright with the Japanese and the American studios that do Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball in general. So I can understand why they were having an issue on that end. However, and as well as, Dragon Ball Z Abridged is essentially a passion project by a bunch of guys that love the series. Well, and I can see why, it was probably becoming a chore for them to, put so much thought into creating such a well-done series. It really is well done. Like, if you have not seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged, even if you're not a fan of anime, check it out. It's fucking ridiculous. It's incredibly hysterical, in my honest opinion. So they're basically, I guess, a passion project turned more into a job for them, which I understand. I've often said here on YouTube, the day this shit becomes a job for me is the day I essentially give up all hope and just fucking stop doing this, and it's still a very enjoyable hobby. Yes, I put a lot of time into what I do, but it's still a very enjoyable hobby. What bothers me, though, about this whole thing is, they said if they do the Boo Saga. So, if is a very strong word regarding, future events. If they're planning to do this or not, I feel like this should have been mentioned a lot prior, because a lot of people were expecting Dragon Ball Z Abridged to continue on in the standard way that we are accustomed to seeing it. So I feel like initially, when the alleged final episode, which was episode 60 of Dragon Ball Z Abridged, was released, and the 3-part episode, blah blah blah, I feel like TeamFourStar got a lot of people's hopes up. And again, I understand why they're choosing to go the way they are. I just feel like if they were going to make this decision, it should have been made a lot sooner and it should have been communicated to the community and the fan base of the show and their channel a lot sooner. That's just me. And I mean, some people may disagree with me on that. I understand why you would disagree. I just think that if you're going to make a promise to someone to do something, you either go through with it the way it should, or you just don't do it at all and say, hey, we can't do this for this, this, and this reason. Instead of, and hell, I don't even know how this short, I mean, I've seen some of their short Z, which I think is short Z episodes. They're funny, they're cool, but I don't think, as someone that's a purist of a lot of things and someone that hates change, I mean, it's not, to me, it's Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but it's in a much more condensed and, restricted time frame. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the whole subject. If you're a fan of this whole thing, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Follow me on all the social media stuff you see in the description. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Have a great day.